So the affirmative claims that the legalization of brothels in the United States will, one, cause rape and violence to decrease, and it'll bring in profits and boost the economy through revenue if it's taxed, and then it will give the police opportunities to catch more violent criminals. And onto the first point, they make the claim that it'll be safer if it's legalized in brothels, but from the Coalition Against Women Trafficking in Women, 146 women interviewed strongly stated that prostitution should not be legalized and considered legitimate work, warning that legalization will create more risk and harm for women from already violent customers and pimps. So with the legalization, it just it objectifies women, and it increases the risk of women joining the industry, and will lead them into worse conditions of being assaulted by customers or even the brothel pimps. And then also they say it'll be safer, but according to a former legal Nevada prostitute, she wasn't allowed to refuse any customers. So while on the streets, another study, they interviewed someone saying that they could regularly reject customers, and if they felt unsafe, they were able to write down like the license plate numbers, so they felt safer on the street because they're able to reject. But this Nevada prostitute says that she wasn't allowed to. Once the customer enters the establishment, they choose their client, and then they negotiate a price. There's no room for like rejection at all. It's just they have to do it. And then another misconception that it will make it safer is that all the illegal prostitutes will like start working for brothels, but that's not the case, because existing street prostitutes obviously have pimps, and one prostitute stated that after one attempt to leave the pimp, she was greenlit, which was she was targeted for harm. So if they try to go legal and escape the illegal aspect of prostitution, they're subject to facing death threats and violence from their pimps, because obviously the pimps don't want them to leave because that's their source of revenue. And then going on to the STDs, she stated that legalizing brothels will force the prostitutes that want to work to be tested regularly, but according to the Center for Diseases and Control and Prevention, the CDC, it approximately takes 25 days for an individual's immune system to detect HIV virus and make antibodies against it. During the time before the antibodies are made, the HIV antibody test will show up negative. The detection of the antibodies in HIV can range from 17 to 29 days. So even if they're tested regularly, if they do test positive, it will be very delayed. And another source from the WordPress, one of the Michelle Savoy, she was a former employee of the Bunny Ranch, which is a legal brothel in Nevada, states that they don't explain the rules of safe sex to you. You have to figure it out for yourself, saying that you will not get fired if they don't use a condom, and once the doors are closed, no one knows what the girls are doing. So that works on like two fronts, saying that once the doors are closed, they have no protection, so it's just the man and the prostitute, and so they say it'll reduce the violence, but there's still a chance for violence because they're in a room together, and yes, and then men are typically like stronger and can force themselves to do things. Yeah. And then another study showed that there's no guarantee that the owners won't catch anything, and Nevada's brothels are safe, statistically saying that like they don't spread the diseases, but the mistake is that it only takes one instance for it to spread, because the customers could easily have wives, and if they go to the brothels and then go back home and spread it, then they made the claim that it'll eliminate it, but it will just like one case is bad enough. And then they also stated that it will give law enforcement more opportunity to fight criminals, like higher profit criminals. And prostitution is linked to drugs. It's estimated that 40 to 85% of all prostitutes are drug users. So if brothels are legalized, the drug scene will just influctuate into there. So the law enforcement will still have their hands full with the prostitution and the drugs that are related with it. And then they also claim that it'll bring revenue, but Nevada is the only state where it's legal to have brothels, and it's a $50 million a year industry, and they actually offered to pay taxes to Nevada, to the state of Nevada, and Nevada declined it in a unanimous vote. So even if it was licensed, even if it was legalized, the states and federal governments don't want the income because it's dirty money from sex work. So yeah, because that would make the governments a pimp basically, because they're gaining revenue from sex work, and so yeah, they don't want to do that. All right, and that's about it.